First we begin. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Also, let us know where and when you're watching this. We'd love to hear from you in the comments. That night is burned into me like a scar I can't get rid of. It was years ago, but I can still hear it. I'd just moved back into my parents' house after college. My old bedroom had been claimed by my brother, so I ended up in the tiny guest room upstairs, the one that sat above the garage. It wasn't great, small, kind of isolating, but it was mine. Sometimes when the garage door opened, the floor shook. It rattled the whole room for a good 10 seconds. Annoying. But eventually I got used to it. It was late one Friday night. Almost midnight. I'd stayed in after a long, draining week. Everyone else was gone. My parents were away for the weekend. My brother was out of town. I was completely alone in the house, lying in bed, reading under the soft yellow glow of a cheap lamp. Everything was calm, quiet. Too quiet, maybe. And then I felt it. That familiar vibration running underneath me. The garage door. At first, I barely reacted, until it hit me. Nobody was supposed to be home. That realization set my chest on fire. I shot out of bed, ran to the window. The garage door stood wide open, but I couldn't see a car. Just darkness. My skin prickled cold. I dug an old aluminum baseball bat out of the closet. My hands were trembling, but something in me refused to hide. Stupid. I know. But in that moment, fight drowned out flight. As I crept downstairs, I kept telling myself, maybe I was wrong. Maybe my parents had come back. Or maybe the door glitched. Anything but the alternative. Then I heard them. Voices. 2 of them. Low. Close. Coming from the direction of my parents' bedroom. Drawers sliding. Things shifting. They weren't supposed to be there. That's when denial peeled away. Someone had broken in. I already had the phone to my ear. 911. I whispered the address and left the line open. They told me to stay hidden, to wait. But I didn't. Something drove me forward. I tightened my grip on the bat and stepped down the hall. Each footstep on the hardwood sounded like a gunshot in the silence. My heart was hammering so violently, I swore they could hear it too. When I reached the bedroom door, I could see them through the crack. 2 strangers tearing through my mom's closet. My body moved before my brain could stop it. I burst into the room, screaming, swinging the bat high. I struck one of them across the leg, heard the crack, the scream. For a second, I felt powerful. In control. That vanished instantly. The second man slammed into me, driving me into the floor. The bat ripped from my hands. His weight crushed me, his fingers locked around my throat. My vision blurred as I clawed for air, and that's when I saw it. The other one, crawling across the floor, a knife glinting in his hand. I knew I was about to die in that room. I let go for a moment. I felt it. The acceptance. Cold and final. It was over. Then, faint, almost drowned out by the struggle, the sharp wail of sirens growing closer. The man above me swore, released one hand, grabbed my bat, and brought it down. My world broke into darkness. I woke up to hands shaking me, a face hovering, an officer, his voice muffled at first, then clearer. The burglars were gone. They'd run when they heard the sirens. The door to the backyard was wide open. I was alive. Barely. Later, as the police pieced it together, something gnawed at me. The garage, the timing. They hadn't just picked a random house. They knew. They knew no one was supposed to be home. They knew about the button in my unlocked car. It wasn't luck. It wasn't random. It was personal. To this day, they were never caught. I don't live in that house anymore. But sometimes, when the night is dead quiet and I feel the floor hum beneath me, I swear I hear that garage door rising again. And every time, I wonder if it's them. It's been months, and I still can't talk about this night without the hair on my arms standing straight up. I had just moved back to my hometown, not because I wanted to, but because my mother needed me. She's getting older, stubborn about asking for help, you know the type. She's had a few falls, nothing fatal, but enough to keep this constant knot of worry in my stomach. So I found this little duplex about 20 minutes from her place. Close enough that I could be there in a heartbeat if anything happened. Far enough to still feel like I had my own space. That night, it was a quiet evening. Around 9 maybe. The kind of night where the silence feels heavier than usual. I was slouched on the couch, half watching the TV when my phone buzzed beside me. Unknown number. Local area code. I almost let it ring out, but my gut told me to answer. The voice on the other end. It was a woman. Soft, professional, clinical. She said she was a nurse at the hospital ER, and that my mother had been rushed in. A fall, head injury, awake, but asking for me. I froze. The blood drained from my face. She knew my mother's full name, her address, even her hip surgery from a few months back. There wasn't a shred of doubt in my mind. It had to be real. I didn't lock the door, didn't think twice about it. I just grabbed my keys, pulled the front door shut, and sped into the night. The entire drive, my mind was unraveling with worst-case scenarios. I prayed under my breath, gripping the wheel so tight my knuckles went white. When I burst through the sliding glass doors of the ER, I ran straight to the desk. I gave the nurse my mom's name. My voice cracked. I told her I'd gotten the call, but the nurse just stared back at me with this confused expression. They checked their system. Nothing. No one by that name admitted. No patient with her info. My mom wasn't there. I stammered through an explanation. I knew what I'd heard. I wasn't crazy. But they kept saying the same thing. No record, no patient. Call her directly, they suggested. With shaking hands, I stepped outside and dialed her landline. The sound of her sleepy voice answering on the second ring nearly broke me. She was fine, at home, safe. I mumbled some excuse about wanting to check up on her, then hung up. And that's when the realization hit me like ice water down my spine. Someone wanted me gone. I drove back home faster than I'd ever driven in my life. My driveway looked normal, the front door just how I left it. For a split second, I thought maybe I'd just lost my mind. But the second I stepped inside, that illusion shattered. My living room had been gutted, TV gone, laptop gone, jewelry box emptied. But the sickening part wasn't what was missing. It was what they chose to take. My family photos, ripped out of their frames. Prescription bottles gone. Random personal details of my life. Stolen. This wasn't a burglary. It felt surgical, intentional. The police came, wrote their notes, tried to give reassurance. But even their voices carried that edge I recognized, like they knew this wasn't ordinary. They asked me to call if I ever got concrete evidence. Then they left, as if evidence was the scariest part. No. What sticks with me is that somebody out there knew exactly how to lure me out. They knew what strings to pull, what would drive me straight into the night without locking my door. And the worst part, they know me. They know my mother. They know us. And they're not finished. I can feel it. Every creak in the house, every shadow outside my window at night, feels like whoever was inside my walls that night is still watching, still waiting. I've got cameras up now, locks on everything. But sometimes I wake at 3 a.m. with this crushing awareness that none of it will help if they decide to come back. Because this wasn't about valuables. It was about me. And whoever did this, they're not done yet. I live alone, early 30s. Been here in this rented house for over a year. It's nothing special, just a small place tucked away in a quiet neighborhood. Nothing fancy. But it's mine. comfortable, affordable. A home, finally. Then one Thursday night, around 11 p.m., everything changed. I was getting ready to crash when a sudden pounding shattered the silence. Not a knock. No, this was a hard, angry pounding, like someone was trying to batter the front door down. I froze, peered through the window. The porch light is terrible, casting shadows everywhere, but nothing clear. I couldn't see who it was. Still, I'm a pretty big guy. Not scared, just confused. Annoyed, even. Door cracked open, but I kept the screen locked. One last barrier, and there he was. A man, agitated, maybe in his late 30s. Disheveled hair, clothes wrinkled and worn like he hadn't slept more than a few hours, maybe days. His eyes, darting wildly. Heavy breathing, like he had been running or fighting off some sort of panic. His feet barely touched the ground, pacing, unable to stand still. Before I could say a word, he shouted, "This is my house. Let me in." "Trespassing," he barked. "I'll call the cops if you don't leave." I thought he was on something. Drugs, maybe. Or just losing it. I tried to calm him, told him he was at the wrong place. But then, he started naming things about the house. Details only someone who lived here could know. Like how the master bedroom door bangs into the toilet because it's poorly designed. Or how the back door sticks and you have to lift it while turning the knob. I stood there, frozen. Didn't even know what to say. Then, through the screen, he pulled out a folder. Lease agreements dated 6 months before I moved in. Mail addressed to him, at my address. Official-looking papers. But something felt off. Then worse. He showed me pictures on his phone, photos of him inside the house, sitting on my couch watching TV, cooking in the kitchen, lying in what's now my bedroom. The pictures were recent, real, not staged or fake. Some had strangers I'd never seen before. One was a selfie from this past 4th of July. A woman I didn't recognize smiling at the kitchen table, fireworks nearby. The detail made it feel true. That photo, it broke me. I started questioning everything. My memories, my sanity. How could he have these if he never lived here? I wondered if maybe, somehow, I'd blocked it out. Shared this house with someone else. It was terrifying. I told him I'd call the police. No anger, just desperate to understand. The moment I said cops, he changed. Calm, quiet. Said he'd wait outside for the call. Then he disappeared into the darkness. 10 minutes later, police showed up. I told them everything. They suggested I contact my landlord to find the previous tenants. I had rental papers, proof that I live here. But they waved it off. Said he was probably just having a mental episode. Nothing to worry about, they said. But I wasn't satisfied. Landlord called old tenants, but nobody knew him. No one matched his description. And they lived alone for 3 years. Nobody could explain how he knew so much about the house, or how he had the pictures. For 2 weeks after, I was on edge. Then, one night, I came home from out with friends. The house was trashed, not robbed. Something was searched for, something specific. Most valuables untouched. No signs of forced entry. Someone had a key. It had to be him. Police got serious after that. Landlord changed all the locks, free of charge, extra security measures. The only theory, some disturbed man truly believed this was his home. Broke in to find his things. But that didn't explain the documents, or the photos, and the house key. I wish I had taken his lease agreement then. Maybe a name. But my mind was scrambled. The documents might be forged, but those photos haunt me. Dates could have been faked. Yet my landlord, who owned this place his whole life, didn't know him. A friend think it's something unnatural. I don't believe in ghost stories, but every time I'm here a cold chill creeps over me. The house feels wrong. I can't explain it. I just pray it's over. In the dead silence of my apartment, I still feel the weight of that night pressing down on me. It started small. Little things I dismissed at first. A closet door ajar when it should have been shut. A chair turned oddly toward my bed. But then, during a rare lazy Saturday, I spotted it. A tiny black lens glued high in the corner, staring straight at where I slept. My hand trembled as I tore it off. A hidden camera, blatant and unhidden. The apartment was quiet. Eric's door shut tight across the hall, smelling stale, like old food and secrets. I poked around his dark room, heart hammering, but found no more evidence. So I hid the camera in my nightstand, ready to catch him if he came for it. For 2 nights, silence. Then, at 3 a.m., the soft scrape of wood on wood, breath held, eyes barely open. Eric standing over my drawer, caught rifling through my things. Still as a statue, he met my gaze, knowing I was awake. His voice cut through the dark, a twisted accusation that I'd been stealing. But the camera pointing at my bed wasn't about theft. It was about control, invasion, and something darker. I flung the camera in the trash and warned him, "Keep out of my room." He retreated with fists clenched, eyes like empty pits. The night dragged on, every creak a threat. When sunlight broke through, the camera was gone, vanished like a bad dream. I told the landlord. Nothing changed. Eric still lives here, but every glance in the hallway chills me, like he's waiting, watching, planning. Last night, footsteps lingered outside my door, silence thick and heavy before fading away. Now, every shadow feels like eyes, every room a trap. I'm looking to escape this nightmare, but the fear lingers. What if there's another lens hidden where I least expect it? I want to believe I'm safe, but I can't. Not here. Not with him. I booked that Airbnb in late September. Thought it was perfect. Cheap, close to Emma's sister's place, and charming enough in the photos with its wraparound porch and golden glow spilling from the windows. But when we pulled up, it looked older. Brittle somehow, grayed by weather, and surrounded by trees that pressed in too close. Alan, the host, was already waiting on the porch before we'd even shut off the engine. His smile was wide but rehearsed, the kind of smile that made my skin crawl when his eyes stayed fixed on us a few seconds too long. He gave the tour briskly, voice pleasant but with an edge, dust in the hallway, candle wax sweetness in the air, a bedroom that felt a little too staged. Then he tapped his finger against a thick padlock on the basement door and said flatly, "This stays locked." No grin that time. Just a warning. That night, the silence was suffocating. No distant cars, no neighbors, only the hum of crickets. Around midnight, I thought I heard a low thud from below. I convinced myself it was the house settling, but the next night, there was no mistaking the dragging sound on concrete, like something heavy being hauled across the floor. Later, slow footsteps, pauses between them, pauses long enough that it felt like whoever, or whatever it was listening back. By the 3rd day, the house itself felt swollen with unease. The air near the basement door reeked faintly of dampness and something sour, like something left too long in the dark. And then, the discovery. The smoke detector above our bed wasn't a smoke detector at all. Hidden inside was a small camera. Another was drilled through a hole by the dresser mirror. Both pointed at the bed. My blood went ice cold. We tore out of there in the night, drove straight to a gas station, called the cops. They came back with us, searched the house. And the basement door, the one locked tight before, was standing wide open. The smell hit first, then shouts from down below. When they dragged him out, I nearly dropped. Alan had been living down there, hiding in a closet with monitors, watching us in real time. Every noise we heard, every pause in the night. It had been him, right under our feet. He was arrested on the spot. But that doesn't erase the nights we spent in that house, the sounds that still replay in my head whenever I try to sleep. Hotels feel safer now, but every time I hear a floorboard creak in the dark, part of me wonders if I'll ever really sleep peacefully again. I was 22 when it happened, fresh out of college, broke, and desperate enough to take any job that came my way. Someone I'd worked for once passed my name along to a man named Craig. He needed someone to stay with his golden retriever while he was out of town for a week. Simple enough. The pay was good, too good. And his house, tucked back on the edge of thick woods, seemed like the kind of quiet retreat most people would kill for. For the first couple nights, it was fine. I walked the dog. I watched TV. I slept in the guest room with Max stretched across my feet. But the third night, everything shifted. I was lying on the bed scrolling through my phone when I noticed the alarm clock on the dresser. Black plastic, glowing blue numbers, way too modern for a room that still screamed floral curtains and beige carpet. I can't explain why it set off alarms in my head, but I leaned closer and saw it. A pinhole, perfectly round. A camera, pointed at the bed. My stomach dropped. I picked it up. It was heavier than it should have been, humming faintly inside like something was alive in there. And then, Max started whining at the door, his ears pinned back. That's when I heard it. A door closing. Not the front door. Somewhere deeper in the house. My skin iced over. Craig wasn't supposed to be back until Sunday. It was Wednesday night. I locked the bedroom door just as footsteps carpeted the hallway. Then, his voice. Calm on the surface, but breathless, shaky underneath. He said he'd left something in the room, asked me to open the door. When I didn't answer, he explained, soft and reasonable, that the clock was a motion sensor for the dog. He swore I was misunderstanding, but when I stayed silent, his calm cracked. The knocking turned violent, his voice sharpened, almost snarling, telling me to open up or he'd use his key. Call the cops. Say I broke into his house. Max was going crazy at the door, barking and scratching. My hands were trembling so badly I could barely unlatch the window. Behind me, his pounding got louder. His voice got meaner. I shoved the window up, stumbled into the night air, and dropped onto the cold grass. I didn't look back. I just ran. I ran until my legs burned, down that gravel driveway, all the way to the road, where I hid by the mailboxes and called my mom. She picked me up 15 minutes later. By then, Craig's house was a shadow behind the trees, but I still couldn't stop watching the dark, waiting for him to appear. I never got paid, never pressed charges. My lawyer said it would be my word against his. For months I couldn't sleep without checking every clock, every smoke detector, every picture frame. I don't know what's worse. The thought of that lens watching me while I slept, or the possibility that on those first 2 nights before I even noticed it, Craig was already inside the house, standing just out of sight, listening.